Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome back to Simracersworld TV, and welcome again to another season of the Porsche Club GB Sim Series. This is the 4th season this championship is running. I'm delighted to be here with you. My name is Chaz Draycott, and I'm even more delighted to have alongside me my partner in crime for this series since day one, Peter MacKay. How are we doing, Peter?
I am very well, Chaz. Thank you very much. It's great to be back. An 8-round championship for Season 4, a brand new heat racing format, a shiny new car, some new faces in the championship, but unfortunately, the same old idiots in the commentary box.
Yes, indeed. We have to let them down one way or another, let them down gently. But it is going to be one hell of a championship. So, just to quickly recap on what we've had in the past, amazing racing, to be honest. Plenty of it. We've had so much close competition in every series that we've had with these guys since they started this in lockdown in 2020. And this season we continue to see the Pro and Am classes, but this time they're back together on track once again, aren't they?
Absolutely, Chaz. Yeah, it's brilliant because for the Am drivers, they're the guys that can really spring some surprises. They can do some giant killing out there. If you just get a circuit that just comes together nicely, the AM drivers can score some big chunks of points. But for the pro drivers, they cannot afford any slip-ups at all, because if they do make mistakes, they will be not scoring very much. They will be stuck in amongst the AMs. So the consequences of scoring high and scoring low are much bigger than they were before.
Yes, indeed. That's it. There's going to be a very, very strong fight all the way through the season for each individual title. We ought to go and look at some race cars, shouldn't we, really? We'll have a look at a name that we've seen in the championship for quite a while now, which is Paul Rieger. Now, Paul has apparently had a corner named after him by his fellow drivers around Hockenheim, as in the pre-season practice they had here last week. Paul was a little bit ambitious into the hairpin that he's just driving down to now, so it's now called Rieger's hairpin, apparently, Peter. But that's the sort of banter that we can expect from these drivers and even us this season, because it's a very close-knit, positive, friendly community, isn't it?
Well, that certainly wouldn't be like Paul Anker's Rieger. I mean, the one time one of those moves did come off, he got a new nickname out of it. So it does come off sometimes. But yeah, Paul's a quality driver, and when things do all come together from him, he's very streaky, you could say. That doesn't mean he drives with his clothes off. Oh, we've started. Oh dear. It means that he's very, very quick, but erratic at times as well. But we like drivers like that, don't we? That's better than diddling around at a safe pace. Yeah,
indeed. It's very exciting to watch. Very, very exciting indeed, and I can't wait to see what we get out of it, to be honest. Now, it's amazing, really, that we do have so many cars in the field. I mean, right now, I've got people in class positions as low down as 48th. So we've got a humongous grid. And a lot of new names as well to see out on the grid. Obviously, we start with Paul Rieger, who we've seen before. We have Cat Cummings in the championship this time round in the white and blue number 2 machine. That's almost like a Brumos livery with the blue and the red. We have Ryan Penny, known for having a very, very tasty livery. He's got a Porsche Centre Chester livery on with the green down it. Of course, we will have Carl Hazelton along at some point. I'm going to go down the list and have a look who else we've got, really. Christian Zaruta in his very neon yellow machine. We've got Simon Povey back with us. Good to have Simon in the championship again, actually, Peter. He was one of the real revelations last season in that pink car, wasn't he? He was certainly a very exciting man to watch.
He was, yeah. He was really strong. Simon Povey is a very experienced sim racer, and was in a lot of tracks was the only driver really able to hold a candle to the eventual runaway champion Jacob Toff. So it'll be interesting to see who's been doing the work in the off season. We've had quite a long break compared to other seasons from season 3 to season 4, so I wonder who's been doing the mileage over the summer. We've had quite a warm summer, and of course lockdown lifting. Who's been putting the hours in? I'm sure that will show up quite quickly.
I think it will, to be fair. I'm excited to see what happens with it. Andrew Marston back out on track, and obviously he's been working hard on the Sim Racing magazine. If you haven't seen that already, do try and check it out where possible. He's put an amazing amount of effort into it. He's got fantastic guests and columns in there. One of each from Peter and I, but a whole host of people contributing to that. We even had Dave Cam, very famous sim racer and YouTuber, putting in some articles previously. We've got Matt Dorrington back with us in the gorgeous-looking Shark e-bikes machine. Gregory Butterworth comes back for another season. Oh, it was Zaruta, sorry, has just been displaced by him. I just clicked on him as it changed there. So I do apologise. We've got times coming in now, so everyone's moving around. I've been told that David Ward is one to watch, actually, this season, Peter. Now, he's in a sort of baby pink car, almost like the Pink Pig, car 69. Even in that colour, this car looks phenomenal, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like that. That is, well, maybe he's decided that he wants to be challenged for the honour of being known as Lady Penelope. Of course, Simon Povey spent the whole of last season in Lady Penelope. David Ward is... Well, at the moment he's inside. We could call it the new Pink Pig, couldn't we?
Yes.
David Ward there, I think. Now Christian Saruta, I've got a bit of insider info about Christian. He has. I saw a video the other day of him picking up his new car. Now, if you're going to get a Porsche GT3 RS, you're doing well. I mean, let's be honest, that's a cool car to have. But if you have it in the kind of, that purple colour that they come in, that sort of, it's like a violet purple.
Oh.
Yeah, weak at the knees stuff. Yeah, that's the colour that Christian's got his in. It's very cool.
Oh.
So, and I think, is he sponsored by Caffeine and Machine? I think he
yes,
is.
there are a couple of drivers that are
very cool.
sponsored by Caffeine and Machine this season. Gavin Halls, who's taken on running the championship, did tell us about that. We also must raise a glass and appreciate this man, Mark Phillips, Bernie. Bernie is back in the championship, and he's got Bernie Eccleston on the front. The nickname comes from Mr. Mark Phillips being basically the man to run the championship from the very beginning. He's taken a step away from the responsibilities this time. And he's even got a wig company sponsoring the car as well. They've got Zoom on there to take the piss. Excuse me. Take the mic. There we go. Well, that's demonetised already. Sorry, Ian. We've got
North
a wig.
Koreans are on us.
Yeah, we've got a wigs company on it because basically he's been tearing his hair out over previous seasons, theoretically anyway. We've got Byron Crawford in the Blinds to Go car, but that's actually quite smart. So he's put the Blinds to Go livery over the standard factory-looking car. That's really cool.
We could start some unbelievable rumours here that Harry King is going to be racing in the Super Cup next year, sponsored by Blinds to Go. I mean, nobody's told Byron this yet, but
well,
that's what the car could look like if that were the case.
It would be very good indeed.
These, honestly, you could be sick on these cars and they'd still look good.
Oh, they're absolutely unbelievable. Oh, a Schweppes livery. Hello, Ethan Gardner.
Yes.
That's become one of my favourites. Schweppes, a logo which I absolutely adore and got used to seeing on the visor of Mika Hakkinen's helmets in the late 90s, which is often a very nerdy fact to bring out. Dan Bathy. Now, he's usually got a pretty car. Let's have a gander at this.
Sacred coffee.
Sacred coffee, indeed.
For what you drink.
It's a little bit more subtle than what he's used to having in this championship, but still, it looks good. We've got Fausto Pinto. Now, that's very striking indeed. Pinto is a word I've been saying a lot this year, commentating on the Sports 2000 championships here in the UK. They have old Pintos racing in their ranks. Angus Archer. I actually saw Angus racing in real life at Snetterton a few weeks ago in the Porsche Club of Great Britain. So I saw the car that some of the drivers were offered to drive from this series last season. And Angus makes a return again. Can't believe we're talking about Angus being down in 32nd place. I mean, Danny Jones, normally very, very fast. He's 27th. João Estevez, another returnee from previous seasons, is 25th. Giles Johnson, or Gilles Johnson, I should say. It's not the only Gilles in the championship now, actually.
I think that's Gilles Gardner. I think we might have a mix-up with our timing software.
Okay.
And I don't think we have a Cat Cummings either. I think that's James Cummings.
Oh, okay.
The timing screen doesn't know where it's coming or going.
Ah. Yeah, there must have been something going wrong there then. Well, I will look into that. I'm wondering where that has actually come about because it was all in alphabetical order. So, we'll see. We'll figure it out.
Blame Gav.
Ah, yeah, it is James Cummings. Yeah, I don't know why it came as Cat Cummings on there, but oh well. Right then, well that'll get updated. So we all see. Ah, I figured out what it is now. I figured out what it is. So I'm sorry to anyone whose names are going to be wrong on this. We will sort it out. But basically what I've figured out is that in the example spreadsheet that these guys have to give their information in, Ian Root's name, who runs Simracersworld TV, is an example at the very top of the list. For some reason, his name is halfway down the list elsewhere. So Amrik Sachdev, who I was actually looking for a moment ago, is going to show up as Ian Roots. So I'm going to change that now and we'll get it all fixed. So we've still got cars out on track then, or coming into the pits at least. Here's Gavin Halls, actually, Peter. Now, he's taken over a lot of the responsibility of running the championship this season. He's got to balance that with racing hard out there at the same time.
Not an easy task, and we commend Gav for taking that on. And of course, balancing a day job as head instructor at the Bahrain International Circuit as well. Well, the Shark e-bikes livery is looking superb, actually. I have to say that's really, really nice as well. And I think if we say Shark e-bikes enough, Carl, even though he's from Yorkshire, Carl Sharkey that is, might give us a free bike. You never know. If we say it enough, I mean, like it worked. Carl Hazelton gave you a free car for a day. Yeah,
that's very true. That's very true.
Still a free car.
Yeah, we can push our luck up here. That's the good
power
thing
of endorsement.
Yes, indeed. Now I am sorting the names out in the background, guys. I think I have this sorted out now. I'm really sorry about that. It was just an oversight with some of the info. Lorenzo Ponder in the chat. Good to see you, mate. Hope you're well. It looks like everybody now is done for qualifying, so that will give us our grid for the first race of the day. And Jacob Tofts lines up on pole position alongside Simon Povey. Then it's Christian Saruta with Paul Rieger alongside him. Mark Baxter-Jones then lines up with James Cummings ahead of Gianluca Elia, or Johnny Elia as we know and love him. Peter O'Connor is 8th ahead of Stephen Harpham and Mark Johnson. Then it's Mark Ward and Ross Dunson in 12th place. Then we have João Estevez, Andrew Shepherd, Danny Jones and Colin Wynn, with Josh Bailey, Dan Bathy, Heinz Mayer and Mark Elvin rounding out the top 20. Now we are going to have to just skip through the rest of it, I'm afraid, because there is a massive, massive number of them on this grid. So you're going to have to just put up with it, I'm afraid. Now I'm trying to get it to skip through, but for some reason it doesn't want to now. So that's all we're going to get.
They've split 24 is the grid.
Oh yes, it is. Apologies. Yes. So it's split it into two. I do apologise, guys. Well.
Oh, I like that. That's very cool.
Looks very tasty. That's Jacob Toft.
That's like a Valiant 911 and a John Player Special 911 have made a beautiful child. And his name's Jacob.
There's the other Caffeine Machine car alongside Simon Povey. So the two neon colours there, of course, covered by them. But the very first race in Season 4 of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Series is underway. And look at these 992s get off the line. They all fan out loads. Simon Povey's had a nightmare, so too has Saruta. They've had too much caffeine for their own good, Peter. They've dropped back early on. There's nearly contact with James Cummings going down the inside there through turn 1. Let's see if everybody keeps it nice and clean. It certainly looks like it as they go up towards turn 2. Tofts with a nice clean start to get things underway.
Yeah, nice and steady from Jacob Tofts. That's what we've come to expect. This young man in the middle of his A-levels, but certainly not holding his pace down as well. Good to see the Haribo Bear returning on the back of Danny Jones, whose machine as well. He's up to the Pro Class this season as well, so a new challenge for AM-Class frontrunner Danny Jones this time around as they come down towards the Riga hairpin for the first time. Oh, they're all on their best behaviour, Chaz.
Yeah, everybody keeping it nice and tidy here, and we're enjoying this so far. Stephen Harpham having a fight with Mark Johnson, who's just on his left-hand side, just about holding on. Now, these guys early on will still have to tiptoe around a little bit, just like they did in the 991. But as we were discussing before we got things underway, Peter, this car is a lot more stable than the older one was, and they can really push it and just properly drive it as the race goes on here, can't they, to try and make moves all around. That's Danny Jones.
Danny. Right in the nose for the Bear. Oh dear, toe back to the pit lane for Danny Jones, so he will be going into the Consolation race. So just a quick moment on what the drivers are up against here. 15-minute race. The top 10 go through automatically to the final. The rest go through the peril of the Consolation races. Christian Saruta going to pit lane. So has he been involved in an incident? So he's going for the orange zone penalty, which if you cause an incident on lap 1, you have to go into pit lane, so problems for Christian Tsuruta, so he's taking his medicine early on there. But yes, this car, a lot more stable, a lot more aerodynamic grip. It's lighter as well. It's 70% aluminium rather than 70% steel. It's got more power, and it's got a big rear diffuser on it as well, which is very nice indeed. So basically, it's a Daft Punk edition. It's stronger, better, faster, harder, better.
Yes,
Good.
indeed. It is a very, very good all-round car. Fantastic improvement on the previous iteration. Now we've got two of the Shark e-bikes cars at the front. Jacob Toft's just ahead of Paul Rieger. Then it's Mark Baxter-Jones and Johnny Elia. Those two 11/10 motorsport cars. They had some stunning liveries last season, and now they've got the same this time round as well. Then they've got Cummings and Povey 5th and 6th. So the top 10, as Peter mentioned, go through to the final from these heats. So they do have to be in a certain position, and at the moment Mark Ward is the man who is just holding on to that in car 11.
I think that might be another...
Yeah, I think that might be
it'll
Mark
either be Mark Bowe or James Ward.
We'll have to find out. Peter O'Connor just ahead of Dan Bathy. I'll have a look at that one. That one must have gone under the radar, that. Yes, it is Mark Bowe. So it seems like some of the surnames aren't matched up either. Now that's what worries me, because I thought it was just the first names. But either way, we've got some strong racing going on early on. But to be fair, Peter, I think these guys just taking it a little bit easy in the opening stages just because they know what needs to be done. And at this point of the championship, you can't risk being on the back foot from the very start, can you?
No, I think there's a lot of lessons learned here, and the car is still pretty new. Also, it's been in circulation for a couple of months now, but there's still not really a massive amount of mileage for the drivers, so they've got to get used to it. But this is a car that you do need to give it a lap or two to get up to its full working temperature, get the tyres bedded in, and then get yourself into a rhythm. Once you're into your rhythm, it's a real honey of a car, actually, as well. As we can see, Povey looking to have a look up the inside of Cummings. Now, he's had a steady start as well. Now, I'm going to put 2 and 2 together here and maybe make 9, or maybe I'll make 4. Now, did Povey and Tsuruta come together? Because Povey obviously had started up the front of the grid, as had Tsuruta, and Tsuruta's gone for a drive-through. There's got to be something in that.
Well, to be fair, Povey had just a nightmare of a start. He really didn't get away well, and Tsuruta had the same thing, but I think Christian maybe had contact. Was he around where Danny Jones was, actually? Let's have a quick look back at the Danny Jones incident. No, Danny's done it on his own.
He's further forward from that. Oh, no.
Now he's all over the back of Mark Johnson.
Looks fair enough there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, who cares? You've got an ultraviolet GT3 RS. I mean, life... Honestly, he could be last in every race, and he'd be like, well, I've got an absolute motor sitting outside.
Yeah, look out the window. You're absolutely fine. Jacob Tofts continues to go absolutely rapid as he does the fastest lap of the race, 1:38.999. Literally the only man to go under that. Now, Mark Bowe, not Mark Ward, has come into the pits, so not quite sure what's gone on. He's got damage on the front left, actually, there. Andrew Marston and Peter O'Connor have both had an issue. Let's see what happened to Andrew. He's just gone in a little bit too hot there to the right-hander. And then we'll see what happens to Peter O'Connor. Now this will explain what happened to Mark Bowe's car as well. Oh. No, he just came over to the right. I don't think he knew Mark Bowe was there. We looked at them just after that happened, so I think we just caught the back end of that one. As down the inside goes Andrew Shepherd, the man that was running the what we called the polo shirt car last season. Now, if you told me that Peter O'Connor's car is driving in a straight line, I would call you a massive liar, because that thing is crabbing like, well, a crab. It's like an 8-year-old at Anglesey.
Well, he is running the factory livery though, so, you know, he's full factory. You know.
He'll get good support when he gets it back to the garage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean the off-track, the paddock support. Of course, whoa, Dan! Oh, that's not like Dan. You don't see him make too many mistakes, but he has done. He'll just have to be careful rejoining here. Oh, now this, of course, this Hockenheim circuit, this car would have been developed quite a lot on this circuit.
Yes.
It's not far from Porsche.
No, exactly. Even when the car was announced that it was coming to iRacing, they did a live show of the final round of the season from the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup at Hockenheim. They actually had Sadokist, the streamer, and of course the presenter for those broadcasts. He was actually there at the Porsche Experience Centre. Now this has gone on a little bit further down. Ralph Mayer just having a moment there as he went off, just as Dan Bathy went off further up. Did he do it on his own? Oh wow, that's some curb there, Dan.
That's a fast corner there,
Yeah.
really fast. Mobile 1 curve. Well, he maybe went over some product there.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. Mark in the chat appreciating my black and white way of pointing things out. It's crabbing like a crab. Yeah, you don't get much more truthful than that, do you, mate? I promise, I'm a good commentator sometimes, I promise. Josh Bailey on the right-hand side right now of Heinzmeier. And look at that later on the brakes down the inside, although is he going to catch out the 37? Oh, fair play.
Well done.
I don't think he meant to do that, but Paul Stout, he's been mugged on the exit now. But now it's Paul Stout and Heinz. Stout and Heinz sounds like a good night in on your own. Heinz goes down the inside, manages to stay in front. Now is Stout going to get caught out here by Josh Bailey? Does he look to the inside? No, Paul says, right, I'm the one on the attack. Gets it down the inside. Heinz carries the speed around the outside of him. Fragile stickers all over the car. You've got to love that. Back down the inside he goes, and then suddenly Stout's under attack from Josh Bailey again. This is brilliant stuff.
Now, Paul Stout's yellow and black machine, that is Porsche 962 throwback machine with shiny spec map. That's almost too much for me. Oh my word, that is cool. That is cool. Have you know the car I'm talking about? I think actually Ayrton Senna did a race in it in the 962 with the Newman yellow and black livery on it.
I'm not sure how much sort of information I should give on this, but I went to Hey Fisher to do a broadcast when Clio Cup were actually at Hockenheim, funnily enough, and they have one of the most beautiful posters I've ever seen on their wall, and it is of that Newman Porsche, where it's a perfect top-down image of the car, but the pattern with all of the arrows and the sort of angled design sort of flows onto the image off the car at all angles, so it fits in the middle perfectly. It's just unbelievable, and I know the exact
cool
car. It is gorgeous. Right now, though, we have Johnny Elia, who is having to defend from James Cummings and then Simon Povey right behind. Johnny has come on a lot in his pace, though, because, I mean, go back to seasons 1 and 2, you know, he was sort of midfield battling, wasn't he, Johnny? But with how competitive this field is this season, he's right up there at the sharp end.
Yeah, it's all those miles in a transit van. That's what develops the skills that you need. Is driving a tranny, and it can't be any other brand though. It has to be a transit. That's the thing as well. But Simon Povey actually showing you know, obviously one of the front runners in last season, and he's having to work really hard here to make his way back up the field, and he's not getting it easy at all from Cummings and Elia in front as he sets his personal best, but still half a second off the pace of Jacob Tobbs, who's just put in his best lap of the race, better than anyone, and that's qualifying pace. That would have put him right up the front of the grid in qualifying. Just shows you the pace in race trim the young Jacob has.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we noticed about him last season, wasn't it? That some of these drivers, they would have great pace in qualifying and they'd be able to put one hell of a lap in to begin with, and then in the race they weren't able to quite carry it through the entire race. But some of these drivers are very, very quick all the way through, and Simon Povey gets a very nice view of James Cummings overdoing it there, going on the left-hand side of Johnny Elia. He just tried to outbrake him that little bit there, overdid it slightly, and I'm afraid it didn't work out, but he manages to at least continue. He's only lost one place from that, and he's still, importantly, in the top 10 to get through. Now, importantly, Ross Dunson is 10th at the moment in that final spot, and he's not really under attack from Shepherd, because it's Shepherd and Colin Wynn, a man that was great last season to watch, really enjoyable, and a top bloke as well. He is now in the fight with Andrew Shepherd, but this is all a bit trivial right now because they're outside of that top 10.
Is that gaffer tape on the back of Colin Wynn's car? It kind of looks like it.
Probably.
Looks like the rear bumper's held on with gaffer tape. If it is, that's fantastic patter. Look at that.
I like that.
I think That's fantastic.
Well, I think whatever that logo is on the bonnet, I think it's that. It's like a sort of Wi-Fi signal shape, but it definitely looks like the bumper's come off, and then the team have just taped it back on.
Covered it on. That's what it is. That's what it should be all about. It's good that he hasn't covered up the sponsor logos though of our fantastic backers, Pirelli, Petro Canada, as well. Stand 21, I think they're one of the sponsors as well.
Yes.
Proper. Didn't Aiello wear Stand 21?
I think he did, yes.
I think he did.
He did. Oh, that was close there between Colin Wynne and Andrew Shepherd. Colin goes to the right-hand side. Now, interesting little thing to note here. I'm not sure if this has been this way all the way through, but the number boards on these cars on the windscreen seem to have like black tape behind them. And I didn't think they always did, but when you go on board you can see it. Look there, we see Colin's name. But I didn't realise that they had it visible from the outside as well. I was actually going to take the mick out of iRacing a little bit before and say it's transparent on one side and not on the other. Oh, well, that's not transparent either. After that, he says, tries to get a cutback, does Colin, gives Andrew a bit of a pat on the rear through Riga's hairpin. Takes all the curb on the inside, back over to the left. Nice stuff for him. Now, the battle for second place is quite close because Mark Baxter-Jones has got Paul Riga behind him. Actually, Baxter-Jones has got ahead of Riga for second place. That's what's happened there. Apologies. Let's have a look. This is how it happened. Oh, no, into his own hairpin as well.
Oh, that's just rude.
Oh.
That's just rude. That's Riga country as well. But, oh, yeah, great move there, though, you have to say, from Mark Baxter-Jones, who have always... we can't call him most improved driver anymore because he just is at the front all the time now. Stephen Harpham just loses it in to Sachs curve. Everybody's done that. If you say you haven't done that, you're a liar. It's so easy to do because there's such a positive camber there that you just want to take that little bit more, and it's just easy to just take off a little bit more there. But it's very important, if you don't make it into the top 10, it's still important to fight all the way up to as far up the order as you can, because that then sets the grid for the Consolation.
Yes, it does. That's it. You need to be very, very careful about where you end up, but you need to play the game if you're not going to quite get up there. And just as Earl in the chat has mentioned, you can remove the black backing from the numbers. I just picked up on João Estevez's car there, because if you look, you can see that he doesn't have that backing there. So it must be something that you can change in the car. Stephen Harpham's numbers have got blue backing behind them, so I'm not quite sure why iRacing have made that something you can paint, but either way, the driver's getting nice and creative. You will see as well on the majority of the cars that they do have these windscreen banners on them. The red little highlight on the far right hand side designates the fact that they are a pro driver as far as I know, or in the pro class, and the blue is for the AM drivers. There's a nice little shot of them coming towards us. You can see João Estevez there with the blue. It says AM, Ross red with pro. Pretty sure that everybody has put those on. There's a few that haven't, and I just picked up on one by accident, so sorry Josh. But some of these guys just outside of the top 10, they're certainly ones to watch for the Consolation a little bit later on. Now, here's a livery I wanted to see. Mark Elvin's car. It's sort of a weathered Martini machine, but there's a secret message on this car that we'll try and look at a little bit later when someone's following it. But have you noticed it doesn't say Martini on it, Peter?
It's a dirty Martini.
It is a very dirty Martini. Because
I'm not going to repeat on air what it says on the back of it.
Either way, this is another highlight.
I don't want the North Koreans on us again for the I mean, because last time we got what is it that it demonetized?
Yes, yeah.
Or
we got demonetized on a stream.
We were threatened by a show of aggression from North Korea for mentioning Rick Astley on air.
It's a strange world we live in, isn't it? But to be fair, the little bit of normality that we've got right now is this man at the front, Jacob Tofts. He stopped using Peter's least favourite number in the world this season. He's no longer number 116. Look how good he's doing. And look how well he's going now. He's not touched a single car. Don't know where the number 6 machine is. But either way, Jacob Tofts is on his way to take a win. And it's been another effortless looking win for him, to be fair, Peter. I mean, he was so modest about it last season, wasn't he, the way he performs, but he just churns these results out.
He does. He's a really impressive young man, both in the virtual world and in the real world as well. And it's going to be business as usual for young Jacob.
It is indeed. Round the final corner he goes then. The very first heat race of the season goes the way of Jacob Toft. Mark Baxter Jones is going to come home in second place. Fantastic stuff for him. Paul Rieger is third ahead of Johnny Elliott. Then Simon Povey and James Cummings right together across the line. And João Estevez has made a mistake on the final lap and he's just dropped out of the top 10. He was in 10th place, but Colin Wynne has now got in front of him. So too has Ross Dunson. So those guys getting a freebie to get in. We've got Cummings, Harpen, Mark Johnson, Ross Dunson. Colin Wynne is just going to beat João Estevez to the line. That is the difference it made. Let's have a look what happened. Now, is he in a fight here? He is. Now, this is Ross Dunson, actually. So
Dunson had dropped back then because he was safe. And now he's not.
Yeah.
At this stage. So something's happened here because Dunson was safe.
They're both a little bit hesitant, aren't they? Just making sure that they try and make a move. I think it's going to be the next corner where it all goes to pot. Although Danny Jones went off there earlier in the race. Now look at this. Ross looks very racy there. He chucks it down the inside. Oh, there is the tiniest touch. Oh, they both go sideways. But Ross recovers quicker, unfortunately, for Zhao's sake. Well, a very interesting first race, to be fair, Peter. A lot of fun to watch. Plenty going on in that one.
Certainly was, and that's going to be a big story. More so than the fight for the win in the heats. It's going to be about the fight for those top 10, the bubble position, the bubble battle is what we're really going to be looking out for.
Yes, it is indeed. Now, this is the grid for the second heat of the day. Matt Dorrington alongside Gavin Halls, then it's Austin Greatorex and David Ward. Carl Sharkey and Stephen Haley make up row 3 ahead of Tom Slater and Luke Holroyd. That's a very, very good row 4. Paul Goffin and Byron Crawford round out your 10 with Rob Sharp and Stuart Clark just behind. Oliver Carwadine lines up alongside Ryan Penny ahead of Bernie Phillips and Angus Archer. Then it's Fausto Pinto, Jared Coleman, Ethan Gardner and Gregory Butterworth that round out your 20. Then it's Spencer Ayres, Andrew Soper, Peter Brill and Sam Sellers at the back, and we're underway already. Nice tidy start from the two teammates on the front row, but it's Gavin Halls that gets in front of Matt Dorrington going into turn 1. And everybody else just needs to keep their calm and try and pick off places where they can. Seems like a few of these guys have got spec maps on their cars, Peter, that are the normal, as I'm going to call it, livery, like Angus Archer's car there, but I don't think it's meant to be.
Yeah. Well, some of that, yeah, I think it's quite cool how some of them are blended in with the Porsche logos as well. As we've got a big melee coming down into the Riga hairpin. Dorrington versus Halls. Their teammates, remember, for Shark e-bikes as well. Austin Greatorex in there too. And Jamie Ward in 4th. Carl Sharkey in 5th. Good start for Carl Sharkey. Whoa! Big spin there. Who's that? Oh, Ryan Penny.
Oh, and there's another one around. That is Peter Brill. No, sorry, not Peter Brill. I think Ethan Gardner in the Schweppes car has gone around, and Andrew Soper involved in that as well. So, bit of argy-bargy on the opening lap for those guys. Now, he's put yellow and orange backing of all sorts behind his numbers, so that's going to be nice and easy to read. But Gavin Halls leads the way then, started second on the grid. Dorrington just seemed to back down a little bit, or bog down, I should say, once he got the car moving. Now, we had heard in previous seasons that the 991 was not the easiest of cars to get moving once it had actually started. But it seems this thing's the same. We've got the 164 off. Luke Holroyd rejoins. That's Paul Goffin. And there's been a bit of a mess there between these two, I think. I think maybe Luke went around and then in avoidance, something else went on. Let's have a look.
Nope, no, just loses it on the. That's just probably just cold tyre coming out of Sachs curve. Just asked for the power that a little bit early, a little bit too much steering lock, and he managed to catch it. That's one thing is the car is very communicative. I would say more so than the 991, the old car. If it's going to let go, you do get a bit of a warning, so you can react. And that would have been a full spin in the 991, whereas Luke was able to sort of turn it into a half spin, which obviously is a lot less damaging to your prospects.
Yes, indeed. And then Paul Goffin, just going round it, just clipped the grass and the back end got away from him and he ended up completely sideways and now is third from last. Andrew Soper has come into the pits. He obviously felt that he was at fault for the incident we saw a moment ago. Now Carl Sharkey has got Stephen Haley right behind him. Oh, as wide has gone Dorrington. Dorrington's gone straight on. And Greater X sneaks through, and can David Ward be a beneficiary of this as well? Looks like he's got a run. No, not quite yet. But Stephen Haley, new name to the championship this season, Peter. Very interesting livery on the car. I believe something to do with the Omologato watches. But a very, very good looking bit of kit. It's got the big O on the side, which is what I thought it was, and maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, it's certainly nice to have these new names in the championship and fighting up near the front as well.
Absolutely, yeah, brilliant to see Stephen up there as well. And also Tom Slater, remember he was an AM-class driver last season, fought his way, fought for the title all the way with Luke Holroyd, the eventual champion. But Tom Slater is now right up there fighting at the front overall, so really making forward progress, and decided to stick with the Jameson Irish whiskey livery as well. So when the Jameson and Schweppes car come together, it'll be a perfect cocktail of carnage.
It will be as well. Certainly will. A gorgeous noise of these machines whistling and screaming their way down towards Riga's hairpin. But Gavin Halls, nice and steady at the front here. In previous seasons, though, actually, just sort of harking back to, I remember a specific Alton Park performance. I think it was in season 2, as Angus Archer and Fausto Pinto both had issues. We'll come to that in a second. But Gavin was definitely one of the quickest, if not the quickest guy in the series a couple of seasons ago. But he didn't manage to do every round, but when he did do it, he was rapid, but just had silly little mistakes or silly incidents that weren't his fault, didn't he?
He also had some catastrophic accidents as well. I mean, yeah. Gav has his, by his own admission, his motto is first or fence. And well, at the moment he's in first, so hopefully he'll be hoping it's that rather than fence today. But I will never forget the accident. Oh, as here goes Dorrington back on Greater X. That'll be tight. Oh, very good. Austin, very fair as always, gives him the room and goes for the cutback. Very clever there from Greater X. But yes, Gavin, remember the accident he had at Spa coming out of Beau Rouge?
God.
Absolutely. I mean, that was an airplane crash.
Yeah, it was an absolutely monumental accident, that one.
Halfway up the tree.
Yeah, he was. And he won't forget that one in a hurry either, to be fair. But yeah, it was certainly an up and down season for Gav previously, but it's good to see him up there now. Now he's got his teammate behind him in the form of Matt Dorrington. Not that they will definitely work together. They do like to fight. Here's Fausto Pinto, just caught the curb, and around the car goes. Gets it out of the way nice and quickly. Angus Archer then went on to have an issue, unfortunately. This is at turn 1. Again, too much curb. It seems like that's the only thing really so far that upsets this car properly, is just a little bit too much curb, because you've got to feel that the drivers know they can push this car a little bit more now. They can properly race it and drag it around. Maybe that just sort of invites them in a little bit too much to a false sense of security. What do you reckon?
Yeah, and I would say that's much more realistic as well. I mean, if you're certain curbs you don't go anywhere near if they've got a bit of a strange profile or whatever. If you hit them too hard, it can sometimes unsettle the car at least. And that's certainly realistic. I had the great privilege of chatting to it's Peter Brill's off. Chatting to Lauren Heinrich, who had his debut season in the Porsche Super Cup this year and did very, very well. He was the rookie champion and won a race outright as well at Zandvoort. But he obviously is very, very handy in the sim drives for BS competition, and he said the 992 generation, this generation here on screen, is much, much closer to the real thing than the 991 on iRacing was. So really good to see that line between the real world and the virtual world is getting closer and closer all the time with every development.
Yeah, that's what we need to know as well, really, in the sim, is that they do have it right and that this car would behave like you'd expect it to if it was driven by a real driver. There's so many where you'd sort of... There's no way of knowing sometimes of how accurate they are. It's a bit of a strange thing to say, but you will get real drivers that haven't driven quite that exact car, or maybe they've driven it once, they've done a test day in it and they've not properly competitively raced it. But we are a bit blessed in the sim racing world that so many people did, from the real motorsport world, I'm going to call it, they did embrace sim racing and they really took it on. They realised how fantastic it can be, how serious it can be taken, and what people do to really race in it and enjoy it every single lap that they do. And in doing so, they've helped to improve sim racing as well. They've said, look, we need to give these guys cars that are realistic, so we know that they're getting as close to the real thing as possible. And that's what we're getting now with this sort of injection of real-world drivers from last year. I'm absolutely loving the fact that we've got it, and this car is testament to that. It is,
yeah, for sure. I mean, I also think saw that the other day. Dan Camish is a big fan of this as well on iRacing. Of course, races in the old specification car in the UK at the moment. What will he do next year? Well, we shall see. But he's got a championship to win first. About half race distance, and Dorrington has absolutely gone off like a shot once he's got rid of Greatorex. He's gone off in a hot pursuit of Gavin Halls, and he's closing him in, Chaz.
Yeah, he's doing a solid job, isn't he? He's right with him now, picking away bit by bit. We've got some very, very bright and wonderful looking cars though this season that I'm still getting used to, I must admit, but still it's great to see. A little bit further down the order, by the way, Sam Sellers, another new name to the championship, has got Ryan Penny and Jared Coleman, two names that we saw last season all over the back of him. Ryan trying to recover right now after having that incident on the first lap. Runs almost an identical livery to Carl Hazelton, which Carl runs on his real life Porsche that he races in PCGB. Ryan Penny with the green stripe on, Carl has the red stripe on his, and Ryan goes through, and so too does Jared Coleman. Sam Sellers just had a bit of a wider run out of that left-hander, didn't he? Lost a lot of pace there. Hard onto the brakes they all go. Ryan parks it on the apex nicely. We need to go back up the order though, because Carl Sharkey is ahead of Austin Greatorex and Stephen Haley now. So what has happened to Greatorex? Because David Ward got past him as well. It's down at the hairpin. It's literally just as we looked away from it, wasn't it? Oh, David's just gone in a bit hot there, hasn't he? Austin goes out wide. And then he drops another spot from there. That's just sort of tough love, isn't it, right there for Austin? He's not going to be too chuffed with that one.
Yeah, I think he'll. He was just a bit unlucky there. David was a little bit deep into the corner, and had to give way and turned in when he thought it was safe to do so. And there was still a big bright pink Porsche in the way. So yeah, Austin will fight back though. He's probably got enough pace to get himself back towards the front now. He can just sit into the draft here of Carl Sharkey, which in fact he has. This is what you can do. You can have a big draft here down towards the Riga hairpin. But Sharkey, but one thing about Carl Sharkey is he has got to be one of, if not the most difficult driver in the championship to pass. He is so good at defending his position. And funny enough, I remember all the way back in the 12 hours of Snetterton charity race that we did right back at the beginning of lockdown, 12-hour solo charity race. And Austin honestly tried for about an hour to get past Carl, and he just couldn't do it.
Yeah, you always get these certain drivers in a championship that are almost impossible to overtake, and we've seen a number of them. Caravan Carl certainly being a star of this championship with it. Ryan Penny has had an issue.
Goodness.
There's a big one behind. That's Ethan Gardner. Wow, it's still moving.
That can will be fizzy when you open it.
Yeah, definitely. It's been swept off its feet.
Yes.
Now Sam Sellers had the issue, so Sam's got on the power, bounced off the side of Ryan, and then, well, it's definitely shaken, not stirred, isn't it? That flipping out. And that's not quite a martini, but either way, that was a big one. Peter Brill.
He'll need a tonic to heal him after that.
He will, to be fair. But that was a bit of a mess there. But you know, some of these drivers
off his feet.
I like that one.
Brilliant, that was a good one.
Now, there is going to be a lot of that this season, everybody. So if you don't if you don't really enjoy that. You just watch with the sound off, to be fair. But we apologise in advance, and I also apologise for my language earlier. It was such a genuine moment, and yeah, I was being as truthful as possible, using the colourful language. Either way, Stephen Haley and Austin Greatorex still right behind Carl Sharkey. He's properly got the tow hook out now, hasn't he, Peter? He's just dragging him along. It's honestly a 12-wheel Porsche.
Yeah, well, this is unusual because Carl's having to play the locomotive in this train rather than the carriage. Normally he's carriage Carl, or caravan Carl as we call him. He does like getting a bit of a tow, but very good at defending position, which I think what we're trying to say is he's quite a good driver.
Yeah, he is.
Just we're doing a terrible job of it, but yeah, he's really good.
We beat around the bush so much it's on fire and Moses is on his way. But to be honest, Carl is doing an absolutely smashing job. We've got 3 of these guys in the top 4, of course, with the Shark e-bikes liveries. Still, though, Greatorex and Haley carry on. So, also inside the top 10, we've got Tom Slater. Byron Crawford is doing a good job in 8th place in the blinds to go machine. To be fair, nobody can see him at the moment. He's very much under the radar. Then it's Rob Sharp in 9th position. Lovely looking car as well. Not seen too much of Rob as we're on to the final lap apparently now. It's nearly 2 minutes a lap round here, to be fair. And then Stuart Clark, another regular in the championship, holding on to 10th place, just ahead of the horrendous livery on Bernie's car. He's doing everything he needs to. Rusty's Roasts as well. There's plenty of puns available there, I'm sure. But Mark Phillips right now is just trying to maybe win him over with influence at this point.
Yes, you're wondering why on earth there's 2 drawing pins on the side of the car. Well, in the Discord server, when everyone, the questions ask, when does the race start? Is there a fixed setup? Is there a practice? Who's racing? Are we racing Porsches? Where are we racing? Bernie would, after a while, get a little bit fed up and go, look at the pins.
Yeah,
which
pin
is basically,
post.
you click a picture of a pin and it brings up like the sort of FAQs. Would that be the frequently asked questions? So yes, that's why there's pins on the side of the car. And Zoom, because, well, I think Mark used to work for a competitor.
Whereby?
Of Zoom. Well, we're not allowed to mention them anymore.
Oh,
I think.
Well,
I could be wrong. Oh, God.
Right, so Jack Oliphant will be with you next week, everybody. I won't be here.
Where's Peter? Don't know. I haven't heard of him.
Oh, formation finish across the line. They just squeezed that in there. I thought we might have actually had one more lap by accident, but Gavin Halls wins from Dorrington. Then it's David Ward ahead of Carl Sharkey, Austin Greatorex, Stephen Haley, Tom Slater, Byron Crawford, Rob Sharp. And is Stuart Clark going to survive ahead of Bernie and make it through to the final? He is. Mark Phillips finishes 11th ahead of Oliver Carwadine, Luke Holroyd, Fausto Pinto, Spencer Ayres, Jared Coleman and Paul Goffin. These 2 are close together, I should say, at the moment. But to be fair, Peter, sorry about that, but time flies when you're having fun, mate.
Or when you're talking rubbish.
That's why these broadcasts go so quick.
Yeah, exactly. You sit there havering. There's a saying, a Scottish saying, where you say you're havering, which means you're talking rubbish.
We've got a different one here in the north of England. It's not broadcastable though, as you can imagine. But yes, it certainly is fun to be back, to be honest. And it's interesting to see how the format works out as well, because as experienced sim racing commentators, the both of us have covered a multitude of different formats and championship styles and car track combos and all sorts. You always sort of think, this is new to me. This is something I've not seen tried yet, or I've not seen it with this car track combo or this sort of series. So, I'm always open to this sort of thing. And so far, we've had 2 really nice races. Not too many big accidents. There's just been the odd bit of argy-bargy. The car earlier of Ethan Gardner rolling over, and that was that. But now we move on to the next race already. No rest for the wicked, eh? João Estevez, pole position with Mark Phillips, Andrew Shepherd, Oliver Carwadine, Dan Bathy, Luke Holroyd, Mark Elvin, Fausto Pinto, Josh Bailey, Spencer Ayres, Heinz Meyer and Jared Coleman, rounding out your top 12. Then it's Paul Stout, Paul Goffin, David Patching, Ryan Penny, Ralph Mayer, Gregory Butterworth, Andrew Marston, Angus Archer, Christian Zaruta, Sam Sellers, Mark Bowe and Andrew Soper. And then we have Peter O'Connor, Peter Brill, Danny Jones and Ethan Gardner at the back of the grid. So this is the consolation race, Peter, for those that didn't make it through the previous races. Top 10 in this go through to the final. They also get a championship point each as well, because, let's face it, they've done another race on top of what everyone else is going to do tonight, so you get a championship point as a bit of incentive.
So this is the hero race.
Yes, it is indeed. Now, João Esteves, with It's Okay Not to Be Okay on the side of the car, will lead them away, engages the launch control, disappears up the road, and Heinz Mayer's made a fantastic start from the middle of the pack. Oh, we've got Argy Bargy. More than that, we've got Mayhem at the back. Oh, there's cars around and cars off. Oh, and that is Andrew Marston taking a humongous tumble. Humongous tumble at the top. And we've got Jared Coleman going down the order as well. He's lost a number of places on the outside. He's dropped down like Aston Villa did in the Premier League once. Oh, and Holroyd's had a bit of argy-bargy. Mark Elvin's around and sideways in front of the pack. That's Andrew Shepherd. Oh, it's all gone a little bit to pot here, Peter. Oh, there's even more argy-bargy. Oh, now the 61's involved. Who was that? That was David Patching. And it's all kicked off, and to be fair, it was Greg Butterworth at the back of the field that's managed to come through it all. We'll have to try and see who gained the most places out of all of that. Let's see with Danny Jones, actually. Danny Jones start right near the back. Let's try and decipher this nonsense, shall we? Wow. What a great initial launch Danny got. Let's see what happens here then, Peter. Talk us through it.
Okay, right, riding on board with Danny Jones, and I've just had an accident. Oh my, oh, as is Andrew Marston. Oh my word, absolute carnage. But Danny, absolutely fantastic reactions here, and just tries to take the largest space of tarmac that he can, rushing down towards turn 2 here, making sure to not take too many liberties on the brakes. There's cars spinning off left, right. You've really got to be careful. And well, yeah, some things went Danny's way there, but he just was really patient and made his way through, and has been highly rewarded for it. But oh my word, that was chaos. Mind you, not as chaotic as the start of the mini challenge race on Sunday.
No.
I mean, those guys honestly crash in a straight line.
Yeah, they do, and I still don't get it to this day. I was there at Alton Park when they were racing, and I just thought, are they trying to write them off? You know, it's just daft. But
have you gone long on mini shares?
Well, yeah, that's it. Well, it was actually. I'll tell this story quickly in a second, but we've got 5 cars in the pits. Dan Bathy, Mark Bowe, Jared Coleman, Angus Archer, Spencer Ayres, Mark Elvin, Andrew Shepherd. That's more than 5, Chaz. But either way, there's a massive number of cars in the pits. The only 2 people that are where they started are our front 2, João Esteves and Mark Phillips, who have bolted away from the front. Oliver Carbadine has moved up to 4th. Christian Cerruta has gained 13 places to get inside the top 10, very importantly. Peter O'Connor, a little bit further back, hasn't quite got there yet, but he's certainly close. Now, just to very quickly highlight what we were talking about there with the minis, when that massive accident happened, the second one at Alton Park, where the car bounced back off the barrier. Oh, well, there's a car bouncing off the barrier as well. It was my good mate Ben Palmer's old car, that Mini, and he was thinking of getting back into racing it in whatever series the car was going to be acceptable in, whether he did do it again in Mini Challenge because the cars are going to change at the front, or whether he raced it in something else. And that day he was talking about buying it, and literally 2 minutes before the restart of that race, he sent a message to a friend of mine who will remain unnamed saying, I think I am going to buy that back off him. And then we watched it with our own eyes because we were down at Cascades. We watched that car barrel roll through the sky, and then we just sent him a message while we were typing it. He already said, well, that's that gone. Literally minutes apart. That's motorsport for you.
Deary me. Maybe better. Well, yeah. Can you imagine the person who thinking, oh, I wish he'd walked it off me before the start of that race?
Yeah.
Oh my. Well, Christian Cerruta, what a lap time, 139.785. Much faster than anyone else. That's qualifying pace. The driver of the 87 is on now. So Christian Cerruta, we should see that car going to the front quite quickly. Of course, Christian, a former, I believe former, not current, Caterham racer. And, well, if you see Caterham racing in the UK, it certainly teaches you racecraft anyway. Oh my word, it's fierce.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I had the pleasure of commentating on 5 different Caterham series at Thruxton earlier on in the year, and it is just mind-blowing. They are absolutely bonkers, all of them. And the racecraft, like you say, you have to be so smart and be so on it all of the time, because you could start a lap in 10th place and finish the lap first. And then at the end of the next lap, you'll be 10th again because they all slipstream past one another. This is Peter Connor going into the top 10. He displaces Ralph Mayer, who now goes down to 11th in the 990 machine. And Peter O'Connor is going to start disappearing up the road by the look of it. He got a nice run already. Danny Jones is behind Ralph now. He wants to get into the top 10, as they all do. But like you said, Peter, Christian Saruta is the man with the pace at the moment. We'll have to see what his time is like. Hello to Jakub Smansky in the chat, one of our competitors in the Simracersworld Formula 3 series, who is very loyal to the channel. We appreciate you being here, mate. But already here, Peter, Saruta is all over the back of the gorgeous car of Paul Goffin.
Yeah, very nice indeed. Can't beat a Martini livery, can't beat a Martini full stop. But Martini hugely synonymous with Porsche throughout the 1970s. Goes Christian Saruta hard on the brakes then and gets the job done again. Very, very nice. Up to 6th place. So the more positions that Christian can make here, the more favourable his grid spot will be in the final.
Yes.
The best he can be is 21st, but the more positions he gets up there, the closer he is to that. Now, Danny Jones, 12th at the moment, but I tell you what, if he can put together another couple of good laps, he could be looking for a position just sneaking into the final and no more. And then when you're in the final, who knows what comes to you?
Well, that's it. You know, you could have another race again like he's had here. He started 27th on the grid, and he is now up to 12th place in just 3 laps. This is their 4th lap of the race, and I don't think they're going to get many more than 5, to be honest, because it's only a 10-minute race, this Consolation, so it really does demand a lot out of you. And then don't forget, if you've not got through your heat and then come back round through the Consolation, you've then got to do the final as well. But unbelievable. Ben Hoffman, I'm blushing, mate. He's just said, I don't even know anyone. I'm only here for Chaz. Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. Fausto Pinto is not here just for me, though. He's here to try and get into the final, but Saruta is absolutely climbing around all over him. He's not in the Brawn livery anymore, but he's still got the bright yellow on it, so you can certainly notice it. But he's certainly showing himself right now, Peter, to be one of the guys to watch if he can have a clean race meeting.
Definitely. Well, Christian qualified as one of the fastest in the preliminary rounds, which set the Pro and Am classes, and so yeah, definitely has the car speed, that's for sure. As they go, he goes up the inside. He loves that move there into the Parabolica, or on my track map, the Einfahrt Parabolica. So each time you pass wind. Only once though.
Yes. Yeah,
Einfahrt Parabolica.
There's so many corner names in German circuits that can be very misconstrued by us child-minded British. Yeah. Oh, I imagine there's a lot of that going on in the ring, to be fair. Now, the positions at the back of the top 10 are important, as we all know. Oh, this is important as well. Ralph Mayer and Danny Jones have made contact. Now, that's going to hold Danny up. But Peter O'Connor and Heinz Mayer are fighting for the last position in the top 10. Now, they don't want to fight too hard here, Peter, because if they have contact and have an incident, they could actually throw one of these vital positions away, to be honest. Oh.
Well, as Danny's had a bit of an issue there with, looks like with, was that with Bailey or O'Connor? I'm not sure.
Yeah. We'll see. Oh, sorry.
I think it would be Bailey, I think.
Yes.
Yes, Josh Bailey. Oh, just stuffs it up the inside, and this Danny just gets it. Oh, it gets it both sides. Dear me, it's been a bruising day for the Haribo Bear, Danny Jones. Danny Jones, winner of the PCGB Christmas Trivia Quiz.
I did not know that was a thing.
Oh, no. Sorry. No, I do apologise. It was Gary Tall. Danny was second. Sorry, Danny.
I did not know that. I missed that.
There you go.
Well, there we go. So, final lap of the race then for João Esteves. Him and Mark Phillips have done a great job so far. Very tidy showing from these pair. Leading the way from the start. Oliver Carwadine, 3rd place at the moment. Oh, that's a... hello. That's a livery. Luke Holroyd 4th just behind. Obviously Pro-Am champion from last season. Christian Saruta now 5th ahead of Pinto. And it's Goffin, Penny, O'Connor and Heinz Mayer who will round out the top 10. But Luke's been under the radar so far, to be fair, Peter. He had that slide and that moment earlier on. But since then, he's not been as as sort of vibrant as we had last time out.
Yeah, it bounced back well from that little mistake there in the heat, and will get himself into the final. Which is, when you're in the AM class, that's important because there's 20 pro drivers, all the rest in AM, which is about 35 drivers. So, if you're in the final, which is the top 30, you're somewhere close. So, that's without, of course, some pro drivers getting things wrong. So, anyway, it's going to be João Estevez getting pole on this one.
He does indeed. Takes the win in the consolation race. First one of the season. João Estevez from Mark Phillips. Oliver Carbadine beats Luke Holroyd to the line. Put your hands together for Christian Zaruta. What a brilliant drive that was to come through from the back. Fausto Pinto gets through with Paul Goffin. So too does Ryan Penny, Peter O'Connor and Heinz Mayer will round out the 10 that make it through. Not going through are Ralph Mayer, Danny Jones, Andrew Soper and Ethan Gardner. He had a great race after that earlier roll. 14 places gained for him. Dan Bathy dropped 10. He pitted early on. That's going to be him out for the evening. Gregory Butterworth, Peter Brill putting on a bit of a display for us, going around the DRS board. And then Mark Bowe, he's been one that's really been under the radar, especially as I got his name wrong earlier. That's a real shame, especially in that gorgeous livery. Then it's Jared Coleman near the bottom, much like Aston Villa usually are. Angus Archer, car 70, finishes in 20th ahead of Spencer Ayres. Then it's Mark Elvin. Andrew Shepherd will be after him. And then we will have David Patching, who is one of the drivers that we'd expect to see up there, but, well, not in a car that looks like that, I'm afraid. Bit of an attritional one, though. that was attritional, that one, though, wasn't it, really, in comparison?
Yeah, the consolation races are often like that in the heat racing format, where you've got drivers desperate to make up spaces in a short amount of time. So it naturally does breed, shall we say, a little bit more argy-bargy.
It certainly does, mate. It certainly does. Well, what we're going to do is we're just going to have a quick, what we call a ganders through the race results that we've had so far this evening. We go all the way back to the first heat of the night, which was won by Jacob Tofts, 5.5 seconds ahead of Mark Baxter-Jones. He was followed home by Paul Rieger and Johnny Elia in 4th place. Simon Povey, James Cummings, Stephen Harpham, Mark Johnson, Ross Dunson and Colin Wynne are the drivers that will go through from that one. And as far as I know, Peter, the grid is determined in terms of the 2 heats, so these guys will be the odd numbered positions on the grid, and the second heat, which we'll see now, will be the even numbered positions. Is that correct?
I think so, and I think the top 10 inverted.
Yes, there is a big mix, so they have to come through basically.
Yeah, makes British touring cars look simple, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Gavin Halls.
Get Jody Kidd to grab a bag full of 11s.
Gavin Halls took the second. I was going to say you sprinkled that one on us. Gavin Halls takes the win of the second heat ahead of Matthew Dorrington. Then it's David Ward and Carl Sharkey. Austin Greatorex rounds out the top 5. Top 5 actually covered by just over 5 seconds as well. Stephen Haley and Tom Slater followed him home, with Byron Crawford, Rob Sharp and Stuart Clark getting through. Mark Phillips just missed out in that one, but then come the consolation race, he was second just behind João Estevez. Oliver Carbadine finished 3rd ahead of Luke Holroyd and Christian Zaruta, with Fausto Pinto, Paul Goffin, Ryan Penny, Peter O'Connor and Heinz Mayer just about beating his sibling to the line, but still we have a very, very busy final grid of the night lined up for us, Peter. 30 drivers in total. Of course, it's going to be between Gavin Halls and Jacob Tofts. Is there anybody that you'd have your eye on at this early stage?
Oh, I don't think you can ever write Matt Dorrington off, ever. I think he'll be in there, that's for sure. And getting through those opening laps clean is going to be very important. If for any of the front runners, if they don't, that's really their chance of winning gone, because the level at the front is so good now that if you want to win the races, you anything other than perfection, well, that's all that will do.
Yeah, you're very true, actually, very true. Some of these drivers, whoa, hello.
Get on there.
Have some of that. They do take a bit of a reserved approach because, they think about the championship from the very get-go. But then you do have other drivers that just completely go for it. Every single opportunity to overtake someone, they will chuck it down the inside. And we see that difference even in this sort of racing as well, And I think the heat racing, it's great to see that this season because it demands a little bit more from some of these drivers. And it's not it sort of makes them develop a different driving style that they're not normally forced into. Don't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think so. I think it definitely asks more of the driver. That's for certain. I have to say, one characteristic I forgot to mention about these cars, as Matt Dorrington so beautifully demonstrated, the power oversteer on corner exit. I mean, it's not the fastest way, but oh my word, is it fun! Like you can, the old car was really unforgiving. If you got into oversteer, you were usually over the barrier. Normally, power oversteer on the exit was just not possible. You were in big trouble then. But this car is a little bit more progressive, so it should be a little bit more forgiving to the driver. And I think already that's given us a bit better racing.
Yeah, I'd say so. The fact that the car is more drivable, they can push it that little bit harder. And the old car was so on a knife edge that you really couldn't risk it too much. You couldn't sort of think, oh, I'm definitely going to get the car stopped and I'm definitely going to be able to go that a bit harder on the brakes and not lock the rears up. This car has given those guys the confidence to go and do that, and I think that it really, even in just the 3 short races we've seen so far, it's made a big difference to me. I've really enjoyed watching them because the car looks faster to me. It doesn't look like it's floating on the surface. It looks planted and it looks like a proper GT car should.
Yeah, it does. I think actually, this with the right tyre on it, this car could be homologated for full GT3 racing. Yeah. With ABS and the traction control system, in you go, and it's right there on lap time. And the thing I do like about it though is that, and this has always been the case with the Carrera Cup, is that being a one-make racing car, Porsche themselves set the rule book. So every other racing car that Porsche make, they've got to fit it into some form of regulation. So they've got to build a GT3 car or a GTLM car or a GT4 or whatever. Whereas with this car, they can kind of do whatever they want, and they can take it in the path they want to. And it's interesting to see the path they've taken with this car and how it's really moved things along. And I tell you what, when the folks at Manthey Racing get their hands on it, watch out for some very scary Nürburgring lap times.
Yeah, it is going to be absolutely awesome to see. But you're right, it would be interesting to see how it does go. I mean, I've seen them against GT3 cars before, and they're faster in a straight line. It's bonkers. Either way, Stuart Clark is on pole for the final race of the night ahead of Colin Wynne, Rob Sharp and Ross Dunson. Byron Crawford then lines up alongside Mark Johnson with Tom Slater, Stephen Harpham, Stephen Haley and James Cummings rounding out your top 10. Then it's Austin Greatorex and Simon Povey, with Carl Sharkey, Johnny Elia, David Ward, Paul Rieger, Matt Dorrington, Mark Baxter-Jones, Gavin Halls and Jacob Tofts rounding out your top 20. Austin Greatorex is just taking to the grid now, so he is the last one there, and we will get this race underway. So apologies for not going through the full grid. As you can see, it's a bit of a bigger one. 30 cars in this, or 35 as we've got, and we're away, and there's a slow start there in the middle of the field. And there's cars around. Oh, it's a massive accident. The entire circuit is blocked. Oh, dearie me.
Oh, dear me.
Now, Simon Povey.
There is a lot of high-profile drivers in there as well. One of which is Jacob Tofts.
Yep, Jacob Tofts involved.
Oh, my word.
Simon Povey was one of the first cars I saw sideways, and then it all went to pot. Now, we've got a massive gaggle of them heading their way down towards Rieger's hairpin. They've managed to make it through, but that was a massive shame there, Peter. And to be honest, that's one of the moments where in other series, I'm not sort of, oh, hello. Big contact there. As down the inside, I think, went James Cummings. And was that?
Dunson on the receiving end.
Yeah, Dunson got absolutely clouted there. In other series we've seen before, not necessarily saying these guys have missed a trick, but we would see safety cars for that sort of thing elsewhere. But, in this championship, there is a bit of a light-hearted approach to a lot of it, so they just sort of say, well, get on with it. Dunson's had another bit of contact. He's not having a good time in that. The car's in camouflage. Maybe they can't see him.
Good excuse. I like that. Yeah, you can tell he came out of nowhere. Right.
I was going to see if we could see it from here, but we might have to go onto a chopper cam. Let's have a look at Simon Povey.
Very slow getaway from, yes, that was Peter corner. No, it was Byron Crawford.
Yeah.
So he was the kind of, I'm not saying at fault, but he got a very slow getaway. Watch this, Byron Crawford in the silver car with the purple stripe.
Keep your eye on Simon Povey on the right, though, as well, in the pink car, look.
Oh, and Austin Greatorex, I think, runs straight into the back of him. Don't think he quite expected the car to be... And yeah, I'm nobody with anywhere to go there, really.
I'll take any fallout from this, but I may get Ryan Penny in trouble here, but the fact that he made it through is a miracle. Watch this. I'm not going to speak.
How? Say, oh, there's a roadblock. Let me put some more throttle in.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
You know what, Ryan? I'd throw the book at you if I was an organiser, but fair play, mate. You made that work somehow. I don't know how he did that.
No tomorrow.
Oh no, Gav.
Oh dear.
Oh, Gav.
Oh, multi-21, Gav.
Multi-21, Gav. Oh, what's he doing now? Oh, there's more contact behind as well.
Oh,
I think
dear.
Mayer
The organisers are going to have his pants. Oh, wait.
Oh, I hope he's wearing a belt. Right, Stuart Clark leads the race. He's the only one in the field that is where he started. He is the only one that's where he started. Tom Slater in second place with a bit of damage on the back. He's going well. Colin Wynne holds on to third for now, as he has a fight with James Cummings. James around the outside. Lovely stuff if he gets that done there. Great respect from Colin to give him the space. Stephen Haley is just behind. But now, with this reduced field, these guys need to make the most of the points. I'm just going to hold my breath all the time now. Oh, and there's a little bit of contact there with Stephen. Runs wide. David Ward is going to come through in the pink pig, or at least the baby pig, the piglet. Carl Sharkey just behind this. Gavin Halls deciding to be a little bit more reserved this time round. But what a fantastic fight we've got on our hands here, though, Peter. These guys are going at it now.
They are, yeah. Gav is in full send mode, as usual. The switch was broken a long time ago. Just left him in that mode. Wow, where do you even begin with that opening sequence there? A lot of high-profile drivers taken out of the game. Jacob Toffs has got through eventually. He's in 18, so he's got work to do, as does Simon Povey. Well, no, actually, Simon Povey at 11th. So, but with a damaged car, I think also if you got through that with even, with light damage, you've done well. But yeah. Simon's car, his is a little bit deformed there as well. I don't know how much that'll hold him back. It's bound to hold him a little bit though.
Now, what's interesting, just to show how well Simon recovered from that and how much he got away with, he's ahead of Ryan Penny, who we saw make that miraculous parting of the seas.
The no tomorrow.
Yeah. I really don't know how he's managed that, but still, that's the paradox
of
Tarzan,
as we'll call it. Tarzan Penny.
Yeah. Oh, no. Paul Rieger has a wobble on the corner exit. Slaps into the side of Heinz Mayer. It has got a fragile sticker on it, Paul. You need to be careful, mate. He's now run a little bit wide on the following corner. I'd argue there might be a bit of damage there. But look at this lot. Colin Wynne holding up just about everybody. There's a battle for the lead as Tom Slater's gone for it. Slater down the inside of Stuart Clark and through he goes. Now, I'd argue here, Peter, that he'd disappear up the road because we know how quick Tom is. But this fight of 6 cars altogether is brilliant fun to watch.
I think it depends just how quick Carl Sharkey and particularly Gavin Halls can get through this aspect here, as well as Gavin Halls is going, that is tight, Gav, around the the outside, and that was always going to happen. Oh, here we go. Oh, my word.
If I'm honest, Colin didn't need to move over there. Colin did not need to move over. Gav already went for a gap that was small. Colin didn't need to then react to it and move over again. And then the unfortunate Stephen Haley got caught up in that.
We've got our first blown engine of the season.
Yes, indeed.
That'll be expensive.
And it's also providing a very good smoke
you're getting
screen.
oil all over the track. Come on.
And that is going to be Stevens.
That's something that iRacing thankfully doesn't simulate.
Yes, very true. Very true indeed. Now, we must have a look back at that, I'm afraid. And this is Jacob Toft going past Colin Wynne. So, Gav
There's already contact Gav into Colin Wynn.
Yeah.
And then,
But Colin doesn't need to move back over and fight that. There's no point.
Oh, and look, poor old... Now, was that Mark Bow in the red and white car? Was it Mark Johnson? Just absolutely innocent bystander. It was Mark Johnson. That is so unlucky for the number 44, Mark Johnson. Watch this. Minding his own business, sees there's argy-bargy, thinks, okay, here we go. Then goes to slow down. Christian Cerruti's going, oh my word.
For God's sake.
What can you do? What on earth can you do there?
Nothing is the answer, Stephen.
Those are very frustrating things to happen.
Yeah, they are. And that's the thing, he saw it happen and reacted very quickly. He slowed down, took a moment to just think, right, where's the car going? Who's it going to come out in front of? Oh, me. And unfortunately, that was that. But yeah, a little bit naughty from Gav to start with, because that gap was... I was worried that Colin was just going to close that gap anyway, because there was a car on his right-hand side to begin with. So I thought that gap was going to disappear straight away, but then Colin decided
to... You could argue he forced the gap open.
Yeah, I'd say so. But then, suddenly then Colin thought he needed to close that gap when they were at such a high speed, and then the bouncing occurred. Now, Jacob Tofts is making his way through the order. It seems like he didn't get too much damage from that initial incident at the start of the race, so he's actually been able to start climbing back through. He's still 5 places off the back of Simon Povey, so he's got some work to do in that regard, but it's a bit of damage limitation.
He's just done a 140.37. His best of the race is a 138.9. A second quicker than Tom Slater. So he's definitely got some hot pace. It's just track position is going to get more difficult the further up the field he gets.
Yeah, and the thing is...
he's got to tread carefully, because there's some hot heads, I think, in the field at the moment.
Yeah, I'd definitely agree with that. So Jacob then pushing along, chasing down Peter O'Connor, who's having a good race of his own at the moment. He's gained 17 places, probably down to the earlier incident. There's a number of drivers inside the top 10 that have done so. Ryan Penny gained 18, as we saw. Christian Cerruti has gained 18. Gavin Halls has gained 14. Oh, hello. Well, hello there. That was Ryan Penny. Ryan Penny getting absolutely hung out to dry there for a second. What on earth happened to Ryan? I think Paul Rieger went through. And then Peter O'Connor went through and give him a light bit of encouragement. And now Tofts has gone through on O'Connor. He says, right, I don't want you to do that to me. I need to get past you ASAP, son.
You're not scratching this new paint job.
Yeah, indeed. So now he's got his teammate Paul Rieger just in front. Now he is just outside of the top 10. Christian Cerruti, biggest mover in the field at the moment. 18 places gained. Really had a good showing tonight. I mean, let's face it, he started 25th. So he got through all the mayhem earlier on, and he's continued to pick them off one by one and get through the order. He's right behind Caravan Carl now. And this is going to be a tough nut to crack, to say the least.
Oh yeah, this will be the toughest to crack in the whole field, I think, for Christian Cerruti. But we will need to try and find out what happened in the opening race, why he took the drive-through penalty. He will not have been told to do that. He'll have taken it on his own accord, believing that he was to blame for an incident. That would be the only reason for doing it. But has bounced back tremendously from there, showing that he has the pace to run at the front. Of course, won a few races last season in the Braun GP liveried machine, or a replica of his Caterham race car, which was also a Braun GP replica. But can he get a move done here on Carl Sharkey? He's got the draft, something that Carl knows very, very well. Oh, as he says, I'm going to have a look. No, thinks better of it. Carl very good on the brakes there as well in the orange 77 machine. And they carry on. Now, Tom Slater is not dropping James Cummings. This is going to be a cracking race to the finish, and we're not halfway yet. And I believe, come the end of the race, the understeer, the front tyres just seem to go off a little bit, and the cars do start to understeer later in the race, I've found.
Well, now it's going to become who can look after the tyres better. We'll have to see. And Neil Toft's making a good point that I was going to raise earlier, actually, saying the in-car cameras don't work too well with the number placement there. It depends if they've got the backing on the numbers, I think. If we go like that, you see, Ward with the pink on it. We may have to move that for later broadcasts. We can change those, so thank you for the feedback, Neil. I certainly agree that it doesn't really work there, so we'll maybe put it in the middle of the roll bar, ask everybody to adjust their GoPros and all sorts. Paul Rieger has just had an off here, Peter. Oh. Tea's ready. Now, he lost a few places, actually, just before this. Peter O'Connor went... Oh, no, this is as he pulled over, sorry. So really not sure what's happened there. But that's a shame for Paul Rieger.
His brokers told him his Bitcoin's gone down.
It looked to me like...
I think the steering's bent.
Yeah.
And he's had enough.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's quite right, does it? Interesting. Now, hello. Carl Sharkey, Stuart Clark and Christian Saruta, all behind Gavin Halls having a fight here. Christian Saruta certainly man on a mission. Oh, well, there's the inside of Carl Sharkey's car. That's where the tow hook would be attached on the back of it if he was in locomotive mode. Look how beautiful iRacing can be with the sun glinting either side of the wing, reflecting off the surface, reflecting off the car. Spit of flame from Carl Sharkey. Get a lovely look at this car. It looks fantastic in orange, I must say. Looks really good in orange, does this machine. The sim racing.
Well, of course, double Porsche Mobil 1 Super Cup champion Larry Ten Voorde. He's Dutch, so it's a good nod to that. I'm sure that's exactly what they were thinking of when they designed it.
Yeah.
And that's in fact when I'm racing in this car on iRacing, I do have a Larry Ten Voorde livery. One of the most underrated drivers in motor racing.
It's a
such a good driver.
It's a good choice, mate. Very good choice indeed. Now, Zaruta, I don't think he's too worried about the livery right now. He's just worried about getting past. Oh, no. Interesting.
He thought about it.
He's trying to pressure Carl into a mistake here, but if we look at the front, Tom Slater, like you said, mate, he is not getting away here. He's got James Cummings and David Ward right behind him. David Ward, actually, one of the drivers that we picked at the start, saying that he looked like a very, very hot pick for this. Bernie. Hello. Oh. Bernie's off. And he's gone back to the pits. Has he done this on his own? Oh. Oh, he's clipped the grass. Oh, and it's not slowing down. It doesn't look that bad, but that'll break a front right, that, won't it?
Sore nose for Bernie. Oh dear. Yes, well, indeed. Ryan Penny now battling away with Matt Dorrington. It's been a difficult race for Matt Dorrington. Caught up in that melee at the start and has definitely come off worse from that. There were some big winners and some big losers from that shunt. And David Ward, wait a minute, all of a sudden he's out the lead by a mile. What on earth's going on here? As
soon as we look away. So Andrew Soper went off. This is something that he's done on his own, I think. Yep. Now I know what the livery is all about. Tom Slater had an issue down at the hairpin. Was he assisted by James Cummings? Yes.
Yes.
That's a simple stewarding decision. Yes, he was.
Right in the particulars as well. That's you don't want your 4-litre flat six tampered with at all. And this is a pretty big hit actually. Cummings, he's trying to slow it down, but just can't get it stopped in time.
Wait for it.
Oh!
Hello. Well, it's certainly eye-opening this evening for a lot of these drivers. This is very feisty stuff. Entertaining, though.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Jacob Toffs, well, this is a proper champion's drive, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't just down the order, he was down the order and miles back on the road as well.
Yeah.
And, got the car going and, bringing a lot of pace out of it. Simon Povey as well, you have to give him equal praise because he was caught up in that same melee and he's nursing a pretty second-hand looking Porsche as well. So, I think we're going to see a real battle between these two all season long. And with this format, with such a big grid, stuff like that can happen. This is going to make the championship more unpredictable, I believe.
It is as well. And, like we said before, it demands a little bit of something different out of the drivers rather than just a reserved approach like they have to have in these races to look after the tyres over 25 minutes. You've got the sprint races and the heat races where you have to push to be in a specific position as well. It really puts drivers on the spot. It's not just 2 long races like we had last season. They have very, very different length races where they've got to really take a different approach. So hats off to Jacob Toft. Like you say, real champion's drive right now. He's less than 13 seconds off the race leader. Simon Povey was a number of positions ahead of him, though, a few laps ago. I do agree, though, that Simon's car looks a lot more damaged than Jacob's does. But Mr. Toft's reigning overall champion in the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Series. And he is showing us exactly why right now. He's in the top 10, and he's going to continue to move forward if his pace up to now has been any sort of example. Rob Sharp is having a scrap. We saw a quick glimpse of Rob earlier. He's with Ryan Penny. I think Ryan might have some potential steering issues as well. He's dropped a couple of places back since we last saw him. And our AM champion, Luke Holroyd, is in a fight as well with Ethan Gardner right now. So still battles all the way up and down the order here, Peter. Everybody's got somebody to race, and that's one of the best things about this championship that we usually do see.
Yeah, and I think that's the benefit of a Pro and Am class as well, which is brilliant, and such a depth of field too, which is fantastic, as well as Luke giving plenty of room here to Ethan Gardner, trying to go around the outside. Nope, not quite able to get it done. Down the gearbox, just not rushing it in the braking zone. It is quite easy in these cars to rush down the gearbox and then kind of lock up the rear. You've got to be quite careful about that. But no such problem there for Luke. Very smooth. At the moment, Jacob Toft, well, he's just gone past Simon Povey. He was lapping about a second quicker, and yeah, I think Simon's really got no chance to give chase, because really with the damage he's incurring, he's got one hand behind his back really. And look at that. That's a good example of it. Jacob able to just blow by on the straight. Perfect example of the damage that Simon is having to contend with.
And we've just had Tom Slater off. Just as we came back to it, Gavin Halls goes past him. Did he help him?
4-leaf clovers in the grass.
Oh, he's just done it himself. Oh, tiny bit too much power on the exit. A long, smooth corner like that, and unfortunately now it's Slater down to 6th place. He's had a very frustrating race. James Cummings is right in the thick of it now. He's got Gavin Halls in front, Carl Sharkey behind. Them and Christian Saruta and David Ward, I'd argue, are some of the very, very fastest guys in the championship who have all fought through well. To be fair, James Cummings, he started 10th on the grid. Carl Sharkey started 13th. Christian Saruta started 25th. Gavin Halls started 19th. David Ward started 15th. So they've all done an amazing job to get to where they are now. We've still got just over 5 minutes to go. So this scrap could still end the race with less cars in it. It could just stay the way it is. It could completely swap around. Saruta at the front of it, but you never know. And that's the beauty of this racing, as Cummings goes a bit deep there. Saruta still all over Carl Sharkey, and I think he's sat there for now, Peter, because he knows that Carl will tow him forward and keep him in this fight, because the slipstream down the back straight is massive here, and these cars really do punch a hole in the air.
They do, yeah. It's not quite the Talladega spec that the old car was. But yes, you're right. There is definitely, that's why we've seen so many moves into the Riga hairpin, or as the Spitzker, as people call it for some strange reason, because why would you call it that when it's the Riga hairpin? Anyway, Christian Saruta, yeah, trying, obviously not wanting to do anything silly, because if you try and throw sort of half-hearted moves on Carl Sharkey, it's just going to slow him up and not be able to move any further forward. So yeah, just trying to do the best he can here. And I think he's been practicing in his GT3 RS on the M25, I reckon. I mean, they're not that far apart.
No, they're not.
The race car for the road.
Yeah, indeed, and a gorgeous car as well. The road car,
ultraviolet,
with its wing not actually looking too different to the GT car. Really, it's just a bit lower when it's the race car. A few extra little bits here and there, but yeah, the road car really does look absolutely stunning. But Saruta making it look very quick at the moment, and well, making Peter make questionable noises like that. To be fair, rightly so, because I thought he was going to tag him around then. That was really close, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was not. You couldn't fit a Shark e-bike in between that gap. I mean, they're lightweight and compact, but my word, that was close. That was very close as well. And James Cummings probably watching that in his mirror going, "Yeah,
please do that again."
yes, please, yeah, do that again, chaps. That'd be good." But Gavin Hall's really pushing now, trying his best. 139.6 for Ward. What does Hall do? Oh, actually losing time to Ward. So Ward, he's just pulling away.
Smashing job by the Piglet, as I'm going to call it at the moment. Nice simple livery on his car. Got all the decals in the right place. That there is the 999 car, I believe, or is it the 990? It's Ralph Mayer just getting out of the way as he is lapped. Now James Cummings has Carl Sharkey right behind him now. Now he's Caravan Carl. Look at that go. Pulls out to the left-hand side of James. James keeps the car in a straight line. Now watch Saruta in the bright yellow car behind them, because he's going to try and get a cutback on these guys. Gets a nice launch out the corner, but to be fair, Sharky's got a great run. James moves over to the left a little bit, tries to squeeze him to the outside. Zaruta's going to try and take advantage of this, I'm telling you now. He may look down the inside. No, he's going to go down the outside. Sharky's gone in way too hot. And the two of them have benefited from that massively. Zaruta is through. That's the mistake that he wanted. And he's just sat there, patiently waited for it to happen. And in the end it has. And now I think that he has seen that Sharky was quicker than Cummings, and he knows that he was quicker than Sharky, so I expect Saruta to push now to try and get a podium from James Cummings. But may I say, what a fantastic drive it's been by James. He had some very up and down bits of driving in his previous season, but I think he's done a mega job, to be fair.
Absolutely has, yeah, but he's got the flying bogey that is the Christian Saruta luminous green and orange, luminous green, luminous green machine. James Cummings using a lot. He might get a slowdown penalty for that, because he was using a lot of room on the exit there, like a certain double British touring car champion. Oh dear, again, slight issue there as Saruta makes a mistake though. So are they going to come together on the exit? No, not quite. So I think James Cummings does have to serve a slowdown penalty, and Saruta charges ahead. So from drive-through penalty to potential podium here, Chaz, in the flying bogey.
Yeah, indeed. Doing an absolutely mega job. And flying right up the order. And down the inside goes Carl Sharkey. So Carl has had a bit of redemption. Oh, just about squeezing around the outside. I was holding my breath a lot there, because I thought there was going to be contact. We do have 25 seconds left, though, for David Ward, who, to be fair, Peter, once he got back in front, he was pretty untouchable there. He's done a mega job, hasn't he?
He has. In clean air, this has been a super drive from David Ward. It really has. And, once into clean air, nobody's been able to match his pace. He's lapping as quick as Jacob Toft is right now. He's up to 6th spot. But Gavin Hall's not able to get an answer. But with elapsed 25 minutes, David Ward is going to be our first winner of the season.
He is indeed. The feature race on his debut goes the way of number 69, David Ward. Fantastic drive. Gavin Halls gets second place, but at what cost? Zaruta gets a podium. What a fantastic night for him. Carl Sharkey 4th ahead of James Cummings. Jacob Toft's champions drive, that is. Tom Slater finishes where he started in 7th ahead of Simon Povey. Great drive from him to come back. Stuart Clark, then it's Mark Johnson just beating Matt Dorrington to the line. That was so close. Peter O'Connor is going to finish in 12th place ahead of Ross Dunson in 13th. But David Ward, well, there's some very, very well-deserved donuts right there, aren't they, Peter?
They really are, yeah. I mean, we were all talking about Tofts, Dorrington, Halls, but no, David Ward showed that he has championship contending pace, and he brought it out really well there once he got the clean air, made the most of it. But that, there'll be a lot of drivers ruining that incident at the beginning of the race, something that I didn't quite expect to see in the final, maybe in the consolation race, but not in the final.
Yeah, it was certainly going to be a talking point for a long time to come. And here is the man that not really caused it, but, you know, the catalyst as such was Byron Crawford. He finishes ahead of Oliver Carwadine and Mark Baxter Jones. It was a real shame not to see Mark at the sharp end again tonight. But David Ward, your first feature race winner of the season. We'll have the results for you in just a second as drivers are finishing the race to declare said result. Paul Goffin, I think, will be the last one across the line in the Martini branded machine, and then that will be the end. But a very, very entertaining and frantic first night in the championship, Peter. I certainly enjoyed that one. Good car track combo this as well. It worked well around Hockenheim.
It did, yeah. I love Hockenheim, I have to say. It's such a super racetrack. It's got, you know, good runoff. It's got great overtaking opportunities, some really nice corners, good mix of corners actually. I can see where a lot of teams would like to test here. Super stuff, and well done, David Ward. That was a super win.
It was indeed. So, as you hear it, David Ward, car 69, takes the win from Gavin Halls. Christian Zaruta gets a podium after a very amazing night of hard work. What a great turnaround that is. Carl Sharkey finishes 4th ahead of James Cummings. Jacob Tofts, Tom Slater, Simon Povey, Stuart Clark and Mark Johnson all fight their way into the top 10 to very deservedly finish in there. Matt Dorrington finishes 11th with Peter O'Connor and Ross Dunson just behind. Then it was Rob Sharp ahead of Ryan Penny. Dan Bathy finishes down in 16th place ahead of João Estevez, and Danny Jones 45 seconds off the lead. Really shows you how the field spread out at that point. Heinz Mayer finishes 19th ahead of Fausto Pinto in 20th. Then it's Luke Holroyd 21st, just ahead of Ethan Gardner, with Byron Crawford and Oliver Carwadine, with Mark Baxter-Jones the last cars on the lead lap. Ralph Mayer, Andrew Soper and Colin Wynn are next up, rounding out the top 28. And then we have Paul Goffin and Austin Greatorex out of the race, 6 laps down. Same with Mark Phillips, Stephen Haley, Paul Rieger, Stephen Harpham and Johnny Elia. Now, we did lose a number of drivers early on in that one, to be fair, Peter. It was certainly difficult to sort of justify it, but, you know, it's one of those moments. You always get them with standing starts. Personally, I prefer standing starts to rolling starts, but I'd imagine that there might be a few people asking for rolling starts after what happened there.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely pluses and minuses for both. And, you know, getting these, there's lots of different ways you can get this car off the line. Some prefer to have the clutch in and then let the clutch out with high revs and sort of, you know, roll the clutch off the line. And some prefer, we saw Danny Jones getting a great launch, putting it in first gear, holding the brake and sort of holding it at low revs. Lots of different ways to do it. Yeah, it does help if you've got the car in gear. That does help to get away off the line.
It does. And to be fair, I think it just comes down to experience with the car, really, because we are going to see a number of drivers over the course of the season still getting used to how this car behaves, you know, and the way that it all works. A lot of them may not have had much experience in it, to be honest. They just get into it for just this championship. I know a number of the drivers drive it regularly on iRacing. You know, they do official series and everything they can to drive the car whenever possible. But to be fair, some people like myself, you know, just do league racing on iRacing. They don't do all of the officials and all of the other stuff. We're getting a nice slow-mo look at the incident at the start here as everybody fanned out. It did look like someone literally just drove straight into the back of Byron Crawford there, though, and then Povey clipped him as well. But someone that's going to have to pick all of this apart is the man that joins us in the box right now, Gavin Halls. Gavin, it was certainly a busy night out on track for you. It looked like quite hard work with some of these guys. It's very competitive, isn't it?
It is extremely competitive this season. And we're going to be very busy for the next couple of weeks, I think, with dissecting who did wrong, myself included. I think that was crazy. From the lights dropping, that was crazy race, absolutely crazy.
It certainly looked like it was fun to at least drive the cars around here, though. It looked like a very, very good car track combo, and to be honest, I know that from the practicing and so on that you've all done before tonight, that you all enjoy the car a lot more than the previous one. Is it down to just how it feels, or is there something a bit more specific to it that we should know?
It's very preferential at the moment. There are, I'm sure you noticed tonight, there are a few people who are struggling, who were up at the front last season, and they just haven't quite gelled with the car yet. And then there's some guys who've really moved up forward because it just seems to suit them. So it's really turned this season on its head. We cannot call it in either class, pro or WAN.
Well, we're the same, to be fair, and I mean we are going to try and make everybody's lives easier on the stream as well. For next time onwards, because we're going to have just maybe the blue and red highlights, just so we know who's in what class on the stream, because then it will make things easier for people. But yeah, like you say, either class, there is no way of knowing. But to be honest, some of the new names that have come into it this season, such as, I mean, look at David, straight into it, straight with a win. There's some fantastic talent coming in. It's not like there's loads of new guys and they're all sat at the back, is it?
No. So I've raced with David before in the Porsche Sport Carrera Cup, so I know he's got genuine pace. And again, he's settled into the car well. He's an absolute contender. And you look at the likes of Christian and obviously Max around, Carl, Johnny Elia, Mark Baxter-Jones, fast guys as well. They're going to be right up front. And I think we're going to get midway through the season, and then we're going to see a lot of other people coming up to the front as well as they get used to the car.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing I was just saying there, that it is down to experience with these cars. A lot of people might not have had too much time in it because they don't do the official races. People just do leagues sometimes, and it means that you just lose out on a bit of seat time when others get used to where it is in officials and use it at different tracks and so on. But because it is new on iRacing, in some ways it's still a bit of a level playing field yet, isn't it? So like you say, it's going to be interesting to see how people develop.
Yeah, it's a fantastic leveler. And then, like you say, some people are going to have a little more time to get in the car, like pre-season. They've just had a few more hours spare, maybe. And I think we'll see some of the other guys sort of catch up as the season goes on. So, can't wait. Absolutely can't wait. But brilliant racing tonight. Super close and really tough to get to the front.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, every point is going to count here this season, because the format as well demands a lot from drivers, and it's been very, very exciting to watch so far. So thank you very much for continuing to do all the hard work you do, and I'm sure it's going to be a long, hard week of picking those incidents apart. But before we let you go tonight, mate, is there anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to?
So I've got to give a massive shout out to my fellow orgs, and I'm probably going to forget someone. So there's a lot of us now all chipping in, getting the work done, and we wouldn't have got here without their very hard input. So obviously there's Matt Dorrington, Carl Sharkey, then we've got Christian Saruda, Gary Tool, Johnny Elia are doing work behind the scenes. We've got Paul Rieger, Andrew Soper, and Bernie is still chipping in here and there as well. So there's a massive team. Gilles Gardner is doing all our paint and photos for us. So huge team inside the PCGB family pulling together to get this season underway. Big thanks to them.
Smashing stuff. Well, thank you very much, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure again to get back into things tonight. Certainly been a lot of fun, and we look forward to seeing you next time round.
We've missed you guys. Glad to have you back.
Thank you very much, Gav. We'll see you soon, mate.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Fantastic to hear from Gavin Halls. He certainly had a very busy night, and it's going to be even busier and busier as the week goes on. Next up, though, is the man that, had a hell of a debut, to be fair. David Ward joins us in the box. David, you must be absolutely beaming from ear to ear right now. That was not a bad night as things go.
Yeah, it was great. I was so excited that I actually broke my mic and couldn't come back in until I'd fixed it. So, yeah, it was a great race. Really, really good. A little bit of a monkey off my back with racing in some of the other series as well. So, I'm a little bit speechless, to be honest. It's good. I feel good. Well,
that's it. In league racing, official racing on iRacing is an amazing thing, and it's a beautiful thing. But when you do it in a league, and you get to know all the drivers around you, and you race the same people all the time, it does get more competitive. And when you know who you're up against, and I assume you've seen sort of versions of the series before in previous seasons, you know what you're coming into and how difficult it is to come in and get a win straight off the bat. Like you say, monkey off your back, more like a gorilla, I'd imagine, because that's just amazing stuff. How did you find the car around Hockenheim? Because me and Peter were saying about how difficult some of the corners are here to manage that car on throttle and on the brakes.
Yeah, so it's very different to the old 911. It's a little bit more compliant. Going into the hairpin is probably the trickiest bit, because you want to brake deep, but you don't want to go too deep. I think I did it in Heat 2 and just broke myself, and going side by side. That's a real tricky. That's one corner that I find very difficult. And then the next one is actually the last two corners. I always seem to either go too deep into the first section and then mess up the second corner coming onto the start finish straight, or the other way around. So it's I still need to figure that out. There's lots to figure out in this car still. It's still quite new.
Well, you certainly nailed it tonight, mate. And if you would have told me there was nothing to figure out at all, I would have believed you. But either way, fantastic result your way, David. Really enjoyed watching that one. Is there anyone you'd like to give a quick thanks to while we've got you?
Yeah, my wife MJ, she's Sim Racers as well. She drives the Radical quite a lot. So yeah, big shout out to her. She's on the other rig, so we had to buy another rig so I could do more sim racing.
Absolute gold right there, mate. Absolute gold right there. Fair play. Well, fantastic to see you get that win, David. We hope that the run of fortune continues as the season goes on. Your pace is that good, because it's great to have new names come into the championship and be at the front. But for now, thank you very much for joining us, mate, and we will see you again very soon.
All right, cheers. Thanks a lot, guys.
Cheers. What a nice, humble man, Peter. He's a very lovely bloke to talk to. And this is the thing, you see these drivers out on track and you see how fierce and fast and amazing they can be, but behind the scenes, they're just lovely people, aren't they? We've always had this with this championship.
It has been a trademark of PCGB, hasn't it? No, we've been very, very lucky indeed. And sim racing girlfriend, don't get much better than that, does it?
No, it certainly doesn't, actually. I thought my missus was a keeper when she did a sort of wives and girlfriends race, but to have a dedicated rig for your partner, that's absolutely amazing. Something else that was amazing tonight was Christian Saruta, because it seems like, just for a bit of fun, he wanted to keep coming from the back of the grid, to be fair, because I think he gained the most places over anybody by a good margin tonight. Christian, that was a lot of hard work, but it certainly paid off with an overall podium in the feature. I bet you're absolutely shattered now.
Yeah, I'm sweating my tits off, if I'm honest.
I couldn't put it better myself.
Yeah, I mean, didn't want to make it easy for myself. Not.
I was going to say, it wasn't straightforward, was it?
No, I had complete brain fade at the start of the first race, and completely messed up the start of the second race again. So I have to look at that, but it probably helped me out in the end. It meant I didn't go piling into the mess in the middle of the grid of the start. So I just about made my way through that, and then. Yeah, I can't even remember what happened, to be honest.
Well, to be fair, Peter and I we were just watching the pace all the way through, and every single time we looked at you and then went to look at something else and came back, you'd overtaken another car and then another car, and you were just rising up through the order, and we thought, you could be on for a podium here, and then it started to get a bit feisty in front with James, and then all of a sudden you were there. So we really do commend the comeback drive, because it wasn't like you only did it once tonight. I mean, you gained 22 places in the feature race alone, but I think in the other two races you gained at least 15 in each one. Was there a sense of achievement along the way, or was it just, let's go?
I think I got a bit lucky in the first one, to be honest. As I think, it was more of a race of attrition. I obviously got past a few people, but it was more people going off. So I kind of took the same strategy going into the feature of just don't die. And it seemed to pay off. I did have a bit of I think I had a bit of damage, because I seemed to be not very quick down the long straight into the hairpin. And I really struggled to get past Carl, who, as you know, has a very wide car, as it has been known.
Yes.
But thankfully, I think he made a bit of a mistake on the penultimate lap, and then I can't remember who was in front of me for third, but they made a little mistake on the final lap as well. It kind of gifted it to me, which I'll quite happily take.
Well, I was going to say, after the amount of effort you put in, it was almost like a nice gift to wrap it up, to be fair, a cherry on the cake. But still, it must give you a lot of confidence going forward into the season, though, thinking about the pace that you've got. Is that something that you're going to focus on, or are you just going to take it round by round?
No, I think I'll focus on the starts, to be honest.
Yeah.
Considering I've had two completely duff, or two or possibly three duff starts in the first round. I think I'm definitely a lot more comfortable with this car than I was with the old one. So yeah, get the start sorted and just keep it on the black stuff, as my dad would say.
Yeah, well, it certainly helps, mate. It certainly helps. Peter and I were very, very pleased to see the result go your way like that. We know that you had a bit of a topsy-turvy season last time around, so it's good to see. Before we let you go, though, do you want to give anybody a quick shout-out while we've got you?
Yeah, Mum and sister are watching as always, so hello Mum, hello sister.
Lovely stuff. Sorry, I thought you were putting more on the end of that. Thank you very much, though, mate. Great to speak to you.
No
Well done
worries.
on the results, and we look forward to seeing what you can do next time.
Cheers guys, appreciate
Cheers.
it, thank you.
Thank you. And what we will do, Peter, sorry mate, I was going to mention his purple Porsche there for a second, but I didn't want to get too picky, and otherwise we'll be here all night. I want to have a quick chat with Stuart Clark, who was the winner in the AM class this evening. Stuart, you certainly worked hard for that one, mate. You were in the thick of it pretty much all night. How do you feel now? Because it must be good to come out the other end of it with a win like that.
Yeah, I was very pleased and quite relieved, to be honest.
I can imagine.
Obviously, well, I guess the key thing is the feature, isn't it? I mean, the feature, I was disappointed, a little bit disappointed in the heat because I dropped a place or 2 places on the last lap, and I thought, oh no, but at least I made it through to the final. And then I didn't realise till I gridded up that I was starting on pole, so it actually worked out quite well. And then I think as per, I think last time I started on pole, on reverse grid, I had to make the best of my start, not making any mistakes.
Yeah.
I think there were some issues behind me, and I think I got a 2 or 3 second lead, and it was just a matter of trying to stay consistent, which I didn't do particularly well, but I did well enough. Didn't make too many mistakes. And then trying to hold other people coming up behind me, but not too much, because obviously otherwise you lose lots of time yourself.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of balance.
Yeah, that's
trying
it.
to get your pace up.
Well, in a car like this as well, I mean, coming from the 991 to the 992, obviously it is a car where you can push a lot more, this newer car. You know, you can at least dance it on the limit a little bit more. Did you feel like it was the same all the way through the race, or did it really start to go off near the end?
It's difficult to say whether the car was going off or I was going off, to be honest. It always happens towards the end of a race. I start worrying and panicking, and I start driving more consciously and thinking more about what I'm doing, whereas I think I drive more naturally, like when I'm practicing or at the beginning of a race.
Yeah.
And then I start overthinking. I think, oh, I've got to be really careful here, I've got to be really careful there, and I end up losing time. And then I've got to kind of calm down, Stuart, and then start pushing. So I think my lap times were kind of dipping about 2/3 of the way in, and then started picking up again. So it's difficult trying to keep the concentration up all the way through. So I'm sure the car was changing, but I think I was changing more, to be honest. But as I get used to the car, hopefully that'll get better.
Well, it certainly looked like a lot of fun, mate, and you know the results still came your way, so very well done from us here at Simracersworld TV. Before we let you go, because we have to unfortunately wrap up at this point, is there anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to?
Well, thanks for everyone who's watching. Thanks for anyone who knows me who's watching. A shout out to my sponsor, Rusty's Roasts, which is my brother's new venture. So check out his website. And yeah, thanks again for you guys. Obviously, I've not watched it yet, but I will do later. But I'm sure the commentary was excellent as usual. And also thanks to all of the organisers who have put this event on. I know it's been particularly hard because Mark Phillips hasn't been able to contribute as much as he was previously. So there's been a lot of people involved. So thank you to Mark, and thank you to everyone else who's made it all possible. And good luck to everyone for the future races and the rest of the season.
Nicely put, Stuart. Nicely put, mate. Well, thank you very much for hopping in, and well done on your results, and we look forward to seeing you next time round.
Thanks. Bye.
Cheers. Well, there we go, Peter. Another quick chat with some very lovely people and some very deserving class winners, race winners, and podium finishes there. That was certainly a positive end to a night that was always a bit unknown going into it, because when it's the start of a season, it's always very enticing, but with an accident like that, I think there's going to be a lot looked at, I think I have to say.
Yes, I think Gav was right that of course we should mention that the stewarding will be slightly different this season, where each round two drivers are picked at random basically to be stewards. So they're involved. So there isn't any one consistent panel of stewards, and therefore there can be no, shall we say, bias.
Yeah.
Or well, there wouldn't be any bias anyway, but any suggestion of bias, because obviously the stewards will be moving around. So yeah, they've got a bit of work to do, I have to say. Get out the Jaffa cakes and the cups of tea.
Yes, indeed. Certainly going
And
to
the
be
sacred coffee, of course.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's certainly going to be a long one for them, but you know, it's been a very entertaining night. It's been a great start to the season. It's been full of action, whether that has been incidents, overtakes, or well, a bit of everything that you want out of motorsport, really. We go to the Red Bull Ring in 2 weeks' time, which has very quickly become one of my very favourite circuits in the world. It's fantastic in the real world, and it's fantastic on iRacing as well. That'll be on the 27th of October here on Simracersworld TV with Chaz Draycott and Peter MacKay. Thank you once again for joining us, everybody. It's been an absolute pleasure, and this has been the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Series Season 4, first round. We will see you in 2 weeks' time, everyone. Have a fantastic evening. We'll see you then.